wonder about some do's and don'ts for what professional counselors do in their homeschool? Well, today I'm going to share with you 5 things that I make sure to do in my home. Hi, I'm Kimberly, and welcome back to my channel. It's Only Homeschooling. If you've never been here before, thank you so much for stopping by. I'm a licensed professional counselor and a former middle school guidance counselor turned homeschool mom of 1. Here at It's Only Homeschooling, you'll find all things advocacy, community, and resources to help you homeschool your child with learning differences. First of all, let me completely apologize for the redness that I have here in my eye. It looks a little creepy and it also matches my shirt a little bit. For whatever reason, I had a blood vessel burst in my eye over the weekend and I didn't feel it. It didn't hurt. It doesn't hurt now. It just looks like I'm getting ready for some pumpkin spice lattes and Halloween a little bit early. But it's still August and triple digits, so we're not there yet. But I'm fine. On with our topic. If you like the content that you see on my channel, then please consider clicking the like button below. Also, consider subscribing. This will let YouTube and its algorithm know that you would like to see more content like this. But now, let's get started. So if you've watched any of my videos before, then you know that I am a homeschool mom now. This is our 5th year that we're starting as homeschoolers. My son is entering 5th grade. But before I was a homeschool mom, I was a licensed professional counselor. I still am one. However, I have a license in Georgia and I am licensed here in my new home state of Texas. However, I have not practiced as a licensed professional counselor since our son was born over a decade ago. But I keep my license current because I worked too hard to get it to begin with, and I just love to learn in general. Always learning and always growing. Plus, also, if I ever needed to go back to work, it's easier to go back to what you know. You do not need to have a background in professional counseling to use these tips and tricks that I use in my homeschool. In fact, when I'm a mom at home, I'm just a mom. I am part of the equation. I do not see myself and shouldn't see myself as a counselor in those situations because I am part of that equation. In the same sense that a dermatologist does not remove their own skin cancer, at least I really hope they don't. I really, really hope they don't. You should not attempt to be your own family's therapist. Reach out for those services should you need them. I will also say I'm not a play therapist. I am a licensed professional counselor and I have worked with adolescents and adults throughout my career. Yet, when it came time to where my son needed some intervention, struggling through some anxiety and some adjustment issues, I sought the services of a professional, and a play therapist did that. If you would like to learn more about what a play therapist is and our experience with play therapy, let me know in the comments section below, and I will make a video about it. I say all of that simply to say, well, 1, to remove the stigma from reaching out and seeking additional services should you need them or should your child need them. That is what they're there for. I will also put some links in the description box below to ways that you can find counselors, professional counselors, or mental health professionals. There's some national databases out there. There's some databases that go by state as well in case you need some referrals. There's also plenty at my website, www.itsonlyhomeschooling.com, under the resources page and parent resources as well. So number 1, permission to feel. That goes for my son, that goes for me, that goes for my husband. Feelings are allowed. Feelings just are. We shouldn't try to control or prevent them. We should learn to kind of make friends with them, even the yucky ones, even the ones we really don't like very much, the unpleasant ones, because feelings don't last. They're kind of like laying on your back when you're little and watching clouds as they go by in the sky. You know, on a sunny, windy day. Give them a minute and they'll change. And they will. Now, when I say you don't try to control your feelings, that doesn't mean you don't learn how to regulate them. Yes, you can learn how to manage your emotions. And that is what I teach him inherent to the feelings. Now, I do teach my son that feelings are important. Absolutely. We all have them and you are allowed to have the entire range of them. Feelings are okay. Feelings are not bad. It is what we do with those feelings that is far more important. And sometimes we all experience, myself included, the really, really big feelings that we are not quite sure what to do with. Our initial instinct is to get rid of them as quickly as we can. And sometimes getting rid of them may mean acting in a way that is really unpleasant, either for ourselves or for others around us. So I give my son permission to experience any feeling that he's experiencing. But what I teach him instead are ways to regulate those emotions when they happen. And there are some ways that I do that. For one, making him aware of what feelings are. Teaching him the whole gamut of it. Teaching him coping skills. Building up his tools to put in his toolbox to manage those feelings when they just get too big. One of our favorite tools is known as the power of the pause. I'll put a card up here to a video that I've got from our Got a Minute series where I teach you all about what the power of the pause is. Essentially, I just want my son to know that everyone has feelings. Feelings are normal. It is okay to have them. What's more important is what we do with them. I want to empower him through learning the power of the pause, our favorite coping tactic and skill that we use at home, that he can feel empowered, that he doesn't have to worry about feeling anxious, knowing that uncomfortable feelings are going to happen and you never know when they're going to happen. Well, that's just it. You never know when they're going to happen. So instead, I empower him by teaching him this tool that he can use no matter what the feeling is that comes his way. Even pleasant feelings such as excitement can be overwhelming and be a little too much. So there can be too much of a good thing and too much of a bad thing. But teaching your child how to handle whatever comes their way is pretty much one of the best gifts that you can give them. Teaching them how to stop in the moment, pause, if you will, take a deep breath, and repeat that several more times gives their brain time to slow down for just a minute, that feeling brain time, just enough time to slow down so that their thinking brain can kick in. Then they are empowered and they get the chance to choose if they want to react, which reactions happen automatically. Feeling comes and we do anything to try to get rid of it. That's when you're going to see tantrum behavior. That's when you're going to see acting out, refusal behavior, meltdowns, all of the unpleasant behaviors. That's what you're going to see 9 times out of 10 when you have a reaction. But if you can take a time out, do that pause, slow your body down, your respiratory rate, breathing rate, your heart rate down so that you feel more calm and you're not driven directly into that fight or flight mode, which has its reasons for being there if you're trying to escape a saber-toothed tiger. The problem is when it kicks into place and there is no saber-toothed tiger around. So that's what we do. We pause, slow down, and now that we're calm, we can choose from several options of how we want to handle this situation that brought about these big feelings. Oh, I don't like this. This is terrible. This is unpleasant. Okay, yeah, it's unpleasant, but I can still do something about it. I'm still in control of what I'm going to do. I can still choose, and that is incredibly empowering. Teaching your child about emotions, it builds their healthy communication skills, which is a skill that will benefit them all throughout their lives. And it helps increase their problem-solving ability, which in turn feeds back into that positive cycle of creating self-confidence. And that's what we want. In my early years of my career, the first part of my career, I worked in juvenile justice. And after that, I went to public education. But when I was in juvenile justice, I worked with kids. I think the youngest I ever saw was about age 10, all the way up until about age 16 or 17. And I kept a rocking chair in my office. Depending on the kid and depending on how they were expressing their emotions, their behavior at the time. If a child was actively violent, I obviously was not going to bring them to my office in an enclosed space. That's just not a good idea for the child. Would not have been a good idea for me either. But if they were frustrated and upset, maybe they'd gotten a call from their attorney, they'd gotten some bad news, maybe a poor visitation had gone wrong, maybe they were having trouble with some other kids on the pod. For whatever reason, I would, if it was a safe enough time, I would bring that child into my office and I would let them sit in my rocking chair. And it was kind of funny. 9 times out of 10, you could see this. They'd sit in that chair and they'd be so fired up and that they would just be rocking just as fast and as vigorously. I thought they were going to rock that rocker right out the window that I had in my little office there. But then after a while, I didn't talk. I just kind of let them have a moment. I didn't try to fix it. I didn't try to intervene. I just let them do whatever it is that they needed to do and say whatever that they needed to say, provided they were not obviously disrespectful or harmful to themselves or harmful to me in any way. That's the key part that I want you to take from this as far as expressing their emotions. As far as your child expressing your emotion, or you as an adult expressing your emotions. Anything goes, you're allowed. This is the way I handled it. You are not allowed to hurt yourself. You are not allowed to hurt someone else. And you are not allowed to destroy property just because you're upset. Those are my 3 criteria. Not allowed to hurt yourself, not allowed to hurt someone else, and not allowed to destroy property. If they were meeting those criteria, they could come to my office and sit in my chair. So, chair is gone. After a while, they're just offloading, free speech, whatever they want to say. And after a good 5 minutes, sometimes a little longer, the rock started going a little bit slower, and the chair would start to slow down and start to sway, and they would start to soothe. I kept my chair there because 9 times out of 10 when the kids came in the office, they didn't need me to fix it. They didn't need me to do anything for them other than to just be fully present and fully in that moment and give them permission to get out whatever it was that they needed to get out. Because in all honesty, there really wasn't anything I could do to fix it right in that moment anyway. And sometimes that's how it is with our children. We can't fix what's going on with them. And sometimes we don't really even need to. We just need to give them permission to openly and freely feel without doing anything to hurt themselves, hurt someone else, or destroy property just because they're upset. Then help empower them with choices of how they want to respond. Emotions are a part of who we are. Good, bad, ugly, and beautiful. Make friends with them. Appreciate them. Even the unpleasant ones. Invite them in for a cup of tea. Just like your least favorite aunt, they can't stay forever. Get used to them. They're not going away, and that's okay. Number 2. I encourage mistakes. Yes, I encourage my child to make mistakes. Now, that does not mean that I want them to be careless. I simply want him to understand that mistakes are a part of the learning process. In fact, sometimes you're going to learn more from the mistake that you made than if you'd gotten it right and never given it a second thought. Mistakes are also a part of life. They're going to happen. And if you have a child with a personality like mine, my son is a little bit of a perfectionist. He can miss one problem on a spelling test, and you would think that he had just committed a felony. That's the way he views it. It's a very all or none, limited thinking, black or white. It's all good, it's all bad, it's all wonderful, it's all terrible frame of thinking. So for my child in particular, I want him to know that it is okay to make mistakes. In fact, mistakes are not even the problem 9 times out of 10. It's what you do after the mistake that is so far more important. If you make a mistake and then you don't learn from it, and you don't grow from it, and you don't really take a step back to say, oh, okay, well, even if it's a math problem, oh, well, here's something that I could have approached differently for that. Oh, let me look at what I did wrong here. Maybe I need to practice my math facts a little more. Maybe I need to go and do another problem or 2 like that. Not punitive, not skill and drill, not beat a dead horse, just enough to make sure that you understand the material can help you in the future. But if all you do is focus in on the mistake and then you beat yourself up over that mistake and then you ruminate and you obsess, you're not doing yourself any good at all. You're completely damaging your self-esteem. So in our case, in our home, and for my son's personality, I want him to make those mistakes because I want him to be comfortable with the fact that he's human and he is going to make mistakes for the rest of his life. It doesn't mean you want to make the same mistakes over and over, although for some things in my life, there's a few lessons that I'm going to be learning a lot. lot. Just a lot. That's okay. That's my cross to bear. But it doesn't mean I won't quit trying. And it doesn't mean that I expect myself to be perfect. It just means the more I try, if I fall down 99 times, I'm still going to get up 100 and keep going. It builds perseverance, it builds endurance, and it builds character. Make those mistakes. Number 3, I teach my son to apologize and forgive. Back to making mistakes. There are going to be times in our lives when we hurt others, when we have a faux pas. Inherent to human relationships, there is going to be conflict because we all have different personalities and we all have different wants and different needs and different desires, and we learn how to communicate by communicating, and sometimes it is on-the-job training or a trial-by-fire process. Learn, grow. Having relationships doesn't mean that you're going to get it right all the time. Relationships are still worth it to pursue. But I want my son to learn that if you are the one who has made that faux pas or you've hurt a friend, go acknowledge your mistake. Go to that friend and make amends. Go to that family member, because he learns these skills now with friends. Those skills will carry over into relationships when he's an adult, and they'll carry over into his marriage. Learn now how to go, oh, you know what? I hurt you and I'm sorry. Let me go make amends for that. On the other side of that coin, I also want him to learn how to forgive. Just as though we may hurt other people, whether intentional or unintentional, other people are going to hurt us. It's inherent to the nature of human relationships that it's going to happen. Learn to forgive and give grace. As Christians, we received the ultimate gift of grace from our Savior who died on the cross for our sins. It's free. We're not worthy of it, that's for sure, because we didn't do anything to deserve it. But I am, for one, thankful that we have it, and it's free to us just simply to accept. If our Savior can do that for us when we're not worthy, then we can in turn forgive those who have hurt us. Now, sidebar note and caveat. If someone continues to hurt my son, and we've actually had, I'll make another video about this if you're curious how we handled a situation like this. There are times when you have to put boundaries. Boundaries are helpful, and healthy boundaries are a good thing to teach other people how to treat you and to teach you your own self-worth as well. I want my son to learn those healthy boundaries, and we have actually had to help him set healthy boundaries and teach him how to set healthy boundaries with friendships that have had to end, or he's had to put a distance with in the past because this friend was not respectful and did not treat him well. Now, did that mean we did not forgive the person who hurt us? Of course not. We forgave them, yes, but at the same time, you can forgive and love and pray for the person who hurt you, while also saying, you know what, though? I am going to have to set a boundary with you and not allow you in my life right now. And yes, even at 10, even at 8 is when I helped him set this boundary. Kids can be taught that, and it's important that they're taught that. If you would like to learn how I did this with my son, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to make a video about it. So, apologize and forgive. Which leads us right into number 4. I foster empathy with my son. And I pretty much do that from the first 3 points by giving him permission to feel, or showing him that we all have, not just him, we all need to give ourselves permission to feel, and encouraging mistakes. It's going to happen. And then also number 3, teaching him how to apologize and forgive, because we live by grace, not perfection. All of those 3 things on a regular, consistent basis, wash, rinse, repeat, are the recipe for helping foster empathy in your child. And that is going to lead to healthy relationships throughout their lives. Number 5, I teach my son and model for him the importance of rest. Rest is essential. It is a gift from God. It is a basic need, and it is actually a commandment from Him. God rested on the seventh day after creating the universe. Who am I to say that I too am not in need of or worthy of rest? Hebrews 4:1 tells us, "Therefore, since the promise of entering his rest still stands, let us be careful that none of you be found to have fallen short of it." Rest is essential to our physical, mental, relational, spiritual, and emotional health. I want to model to my son the importance of working hard. Working hard is important, and to work well. I actually want him to learn how to work smarter instead of just harder. Certainly not encouraging laziness by any means whatsoever, or sloth. Yet, rest is just as important to restore us so that we can fill up our cups and then in turn pour into other people. Whether those people be the relationships in our lives, from our friends to our family, whether those be in terms of for service, so that we can go fulfill the Great Commission and tell the world about the Lord and about the redeeming grace of our Savior, or that we can be the hands and feet of Christ and serve others through community outreach or volunteerism. We are required to take rest to do that. Now, my rest might look different from what my son's rest or my husband's rest might look like, because we all have different needs. And there's a book by Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith, called Sacred Rest, where she talks about 7 different categories of essential rest: physical, mental, sensory, creative, emotional, social, and spiritual. I will put a link in the description box below to a blog post that I wrote reviewing this book and talking about the importance of getting to know yourself so that you know what kind of tired you are, so that you know what kind of rest that you need, so that you can feel restored and feel rejuvenated in order to better serve in your life. In an interview that I recently conducted with Dr. Rhonda Johnson for her book Pacesetter, that is going to be one of my podcast Shelf Indulgence book chats. She will be the feature for November. She's also going to be our feature for the Salt and Light Serve Spotlight for November as well. Dr. Johnson is a private practice owner, an author, a mom, a homeschool mom, working homeschool mom, and oh my goodness, she just does many, many things. But we were talking about rest on this upcoming episode of the podcast, and we were talking about how things that I might do for rest might be different than what she does for rest, and that for some people, scheduling in a certain kind of relaxation or taking a vacation at a certain time can actually be more stressful than it is resourceful, or it doesn't provide you with respite whatsoever. That it's more stressful than helpful, essentially. So that's why it's important to get to know yourself, to teach your child how to get to know themselves so they know what kind of tired they are, so they can in turn then get their needs met. We're all going to try different ways to get those needs met, but we can learn about ourselves and then find the healthy ways to get that need met by giving ourselves what we need, or we can do it in really unhealthy ways, such as through using food, or using drugs, or using other things to numb the pain or try to restore ourselves. That just kind of makes us feel like a hamster running furiously on the wheel, where we are running faster, and running on a treadmill or a hamster on a wheel and getting nowhere. I would rather teach my son how to get to know himself as I also learn how to get to know myself, so that we can find ways to get our needs met in a healthy way and in a way that honors God. Essentially, rest is sacred, it is deeply personal, and it deserves our respect. I want my son to see me rest, to see my husband rest, so that he can in turn see, oh, okay, rest is pretty important. I need to make sure to make that a healthy part of my life, just in the same way that choosing what I put in my body, healthy foods, is important. Choosing to exercise is important, but it's also important to rest. If you would like to hear more about my review from Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith's book, let me know in the comments section below. So there you go. Those are the top 5 things that I am endeavor is probably a better word, that I endeavor to do in my homeschool, which is teaching my son that it's okay to feel. It's okay to feel my feelings too. Teaching him to make mistakes. In fact, encouraging it. Yes, you should make mistakes. You're going to learn so much more from them. 3, teaching him to apologize and to forgive. 4, fostering empathy, which comes from the first 3. And 5, teaching him about the importance of rest. If you like this video, then please consider clicking the like button so that YouTube will know that you want to see more videos like this. It helps the algorithm out, it helps my channel out, and I would really appreciate it. Also, consider subscribing to my channel so that you will know when new videos arrive. And I make videos on all kinds of topics, anything from curriculum and product reviews to videos like this, where I talk about parenting and I talk about how I use some of my background and my story all to make my videos for my channel. I also have 2 podcasts, the Salt and Light Serve Spotlight, where I highlight outreach service, community outreach service and volunteerism, and I shed some light on some wonderful organizations, both individuals and businesses alike, who are doing their best to make the world a better place in their community. And that comes out on the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays of every month, here right on YouTube and on Podbean, and on some of your other favorite podcast downloads like Apple and Spotify. I also have Shelf Indulgence Book Chats, where I chat with homeschool moms who also happen to be authors on their book releases that they have coming out. Some of them are veteran homeschoolers, some of them are a little bit newer, but they also share their experiences through encouragement and support with books that they have released. Be sure to check out my next video on 5 things I do not do in my homeschool. Things that I try to avoid as best as I possibly can. And let me know of the 5 things that you are sure to do in your homeschool in the comments section below. I would love to hear some of your tips and tricks as well, because I am always learning and always growing, and that is one of the things that I love most about being on YouTube, is the community that we build. We are always right here for one another, because never hesitate to ask a homeschool parent something. They are always willing to help. Until then, remember, education is a journey, not a destination. Until we meet again, take a deep breath and relax. It's only homeschooling. Bye for now.